I haven't made a video for you in a while and I'm ready for it now. So we're talking about Jesus today. First, we're going to go back to what we said about the Renaissance. The Renaissance was founded by Mansa Musa, and it was mostly about the church whitewashing history or whitewashing biblical figures so they can change the public persuasion about, slavery. So it really all kind of started off with this man, but not really though. So this man sent the first Moors or Muslims into America to be slaves. Cool, so you understand the church was on BS. Other than Michelangelo, like we mentioned before, with his nephew and his uncle, let's talk about Leonardo da Vinci. So much like the picture of God and touching man's hand, the church also commissioned another historically inaccurate piece. But this one's a little bit more special though, because it is a pope's son, so that's how he got chosen. And the man was a messed up figure. But it shows the church actively trying to change public persuasion by using religion. See, the point of that is in the 14th and 15th century, right before slavery, the Ethiopian church was the biggest church in Rome. And Rome was the epicenter for religious power in Europe. That didn't stop until Martin Luther. See, Jesus is actually part of the Abrahamic religions that believe in one deity. And basically, Muslim, Jews, and Christians all believe in the same God. The only difference is how they believe. Let's go back on the topic of Rome. This is actually the oldest depiction of Jesus we have to date. A 2nd century Roman graffiti is of one classmate making fun of another classmate for believing in Jesus, because Jesus was crucified. And that's something in Roman society that they frowned upon. The whole point of his head being like that is called they call them donkey people. But that's from a religious story of Jesus helping somebody and there's a donkey in it. So the main point of that is Romans didn't even really mess with Jesus. And in the Bible, they crucified Jesus in the first place. But they sure did use Jesus to control people. So Jesus was a real person. And obviously, the first depiction of Jesus that we have is someone making fun of someone for believing in Jesus. Someone that was crucified. And that's because the Bible and the Quran and the Testament are all just history books and explanations for historical events. Black Sea flooded, the Great Flood. And just like it's a history book, we can refer back to it to see what Jesus would look like. So in the Bibles that the Roman Church didn't tamper with, there's these things called the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the Dead Sea Scrolls, they talk about Philip of Macedonia. Philip of Macedonia was Alexander the Great. So clearly a Middle Eastern man to us nowadays. So who would Jesus be? What would Jesus look like? Here's a depiction of Alexander the Great and a Persian. Notice the Persian with more coarse hair and darker skin. Alexander looked like a modern day Middle East. The Persian was darker. And Jesus was from Jerusalem and blended in Egypt.